Hey guys, welcome to another project that we're going to work on. As you can see, this is going to be the weather tutorial, like using a weather API to build out a weather project. So, in this one, we're only going to be using zip codes to build out things. So, as you can see, this is Washington D.C. This is this is Washington in the U.S. This is their current weather forecast. It's broken clouds, feels like this, humidity. And when you hit the back button, it takes you back to this search. And you can put in whatever. I put in this, and this is for Washington, D.C. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this is going to be a full stack project. So we're going to be using Node.js as well as React.js. I already have this one that I'm showing you it's just a Node.js project with Vue.js, but I'm just gonna use the front end part with React.js rather than use Vue.js. So yeah, let's get started. So now we're gonna open up VS Code, the window, and we're gonna install everything we need. Actually, let's make the directory first. So make directory. We're gonna call this weather YouTube. Everything lowercase just to make it easier. Weather YouTube, and then we're gonna clear cd into weather YouTube. Clear this. Okay, so now within weather YouTube, we're gonna make two. Let's make a directory for the server side, and let's now npx create React app, and we're gonna call it client. Okay, so while that loads, we can split this and say cd server clear npm install express. I'm just gonna guess that you guys know how to do this already. If you don't, it's in my first video, how to install all these dependencies. It's in my Marvel video, the first one I believe, first or second one, shows you how to install all this. So we're gonna install express node mod body parser. Actually, let's just do this first, and then npm install body parser. Got it. We're gonna be needing Axios. We're gonna be needing. Okay, so we installed Axios, and we're gonna be needing. What else do we need? Over here. Let's see. What did we have here? Package.json. Express node mon cores. Okay, and .env. So install cores and .env. Cool. So we're all done with this. Let's clear this out. And now we can open our file with the YouTube. Yep. All right. So unlike my other one, this one is going to be built halfway from scratch because I didn't create a client. Let me show you. I didn't create a client here. I only created the server file. Everything here is running on the server file. So, um, so yeah, we're going to be doing this all together. All right, let's see. So in the client side, in the server side, we have nothing in the server side. So in the server side, we're going to come back to the terminal, cd server, clear it out, and we're going to say npm init. Clear. Let me see. Yep, I made that mistake. I didn't do this first. I was supposed to do this first before installing the dependencies. Alright, so we have to do that all again. Give me 1 second. And what else did we need? Node express, .env, body parser, Axios. Okay, and we'll download anything else as we go. Cool. So yeah, don't make that mistake. Make sure you npm init first and then download all this. Completely forgot about that. So now we have our server. So let's go in here and let's start. And we're gonna say index.js. Like I said, all this is in the explanation. All this is in my first video. We're pretty much just with this main file. It's going to be index.js, so that's what we're going to be running anytime we run start. So now we just have to do index.js. There we go. So we got the first part. Just cd clear npm cd client clear. Okay, now we have both folders open up in our terminal. So here we want to say const require express is equal to const express is equal to require express. Got it. And I'm gonna say const what was I saying? Oh yeah, so we're gonna say const app is equal to express. There we go. Now we're gonna say const host name. Let's put everything lowercase. Localhost const port. We're gonna be running this on let's run this on port 6000 because we're currently running something else on 5000. So typically I run everything on 5000 in the back end, but we're running something on 5000 right now, so it's going to be impossible to do that. So app.listen port localhost. And then we're gonna use an arrow function. Awesome. Console.log. Remember, it's backticks. Server is running on host name and then port. Okay, so when we start this, I'm going to start express. There we go. And start. Awesome. All right, so this server's running now. So now let's worry about the client side. npm run start. Okay, so that's running. What we just want to do is let's close. Let's come here. Sorry, let's come to src, and we're not going to be using this. We're not going to be using test.js. We're not going to be using. We're going to be using that. We're going to be using this. No logo. None of this. And none of this. Okay, so now if we go into the file, just gotta delete that. And we're just removing everything we basically deleted from the files. And what's left? Logo. So, and there we go. So let's see if this works. H1, hello world, and boom, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna be using Tailwind to style this. So let's just download that for everyone. It's going to be Tailwind CSS. And then get started. So I'm not really going to be talking through this part because I already have the last video that shows how to do all this. It's pretty much the same thing. But if you're familiar with Tailwind CSS, it should all be second hand to you, second nature. So let's just finish this out real quickly. Next.css, I'm just going to add this here. And yep, we're all done with this part. So now let's see if it works. And start again. Cool. So if we come here, back that.js and say h1 tag, hello world. There we go. Now if we say class name, text, see intelligent, there we go. Text, blue 300. As you can see, it changes. So we know this works just fine. All right, just gonna take this out. Okay, and our localhost 600 here is working. Let's just close out of all this so we don't get cool. So what I like to do is build from the back end to the front end. It just makes things a little easier. So the website we're going to be using to get our weather API is weather. I think it's openweather map.org. I'm currently signed in. So you just need to create an account. It is free. Just pick the free tier. It's going to give you your API key. So I'm not going to be showing you that, but it's going to give you an API key, and then it's going to tell you how exactly to run the API, how exactly to call the API. So what we're going to be using is that of the zip code. If you come to API here, just to show you the whole thing, and you scroll down to current and forecast weather collection, just come to current weather data and hit API doc. Okay, so if you just, same page I was just on, if you look over here, it says build an API request by city ID, built an API request by city name, and built an API request by zip code. So I'm gonna be doing the one by zip code just because I think it's within the US. If you yeah, it's default. Please note if country is not specified, then the search works for US as a default. So you're going to be using zip code, country code, and the US. So the country code default is the US, which makes sense. That's where I'm at. But you can change this up to whatever country you're from or you're trying to do. Now, I believe there's also another method called weather data where you can just put the longitude and the latitude, and there's a way to get the geocoding API. That's just a lot of that's a lot of process, a lot of work. If you want, I can come back and revisit the video, and we can do something like that in a faster method, in a faster video. But since this is going to take a decent amount of time, since I am building out the front end from scratch, um, I'm just going to do the zip code because I already have an idea of what I want to do and how it's going to look. So let's just do that. It's a lot easier. So what we're doing is we're taking this API call. Remember, you should have an API key already um, from this website. It is a free code. It's a free key, so you can do that. And you're going to grab the zip code, and you're going to grab your country code. I believe for the country code, you can just Google what the country code is for where you are. I believe for US, it's just USA. And say constant dot env is equal to, actually, dot env dot config. So that's a faster way of doing that. And all that does is you're requiring the .env file, which we're going to put right now, .env, and this is where we put all our credentials, all our security code, API, anything that's sensitive information, we try to put it in here. And then what we're going to do is say get ignore, and we're going to put this env file inside here. So we're going to say .env. Next thing we're going to do is put this node modules in there, because it's just a big file that we don't really need in our Git folder. Whenever you push this to Git, or you put the you push this to GitHub, or you push this to maybe render.com or something like that, it's going to ignore these two files, and then you're going to have to put this in manually. So let's see. So .env. So remember, we're getting this. We're just going to take this, copy it, take this, and comment it out. We're going to paste it here. We're just going to comment it out. See? Yep. There we go. API.map. Yep, that's what we need. And remember, we just got Axios, so we're going to be using Axios. So constant, we're going to call it weather, is Axios dot get. It's going to be a get method. And we're going to say async, because it's Axios. It's awaiting a promise. So we're going to say async. And then we're going to be getting from this website. We're going to just place this here. And for where it says country code, we're just going to take that off and say US API key. I'm going to call this, actually, let's just save that first. And then within here, we're going to call this, what did we say? We're going to say zip code. Oh, we don't need that right now. We're just going to say API key. So API key, you can write it however you want to. So API key, and then whatever API key this gives you, you just paste it in there. So I like to paste it in amongst backtick, and I like to paste it between the backticks, just in case I need to add any extra things to whatever. It's just easier that way. So I'm not going to show you what the API key is because it's sensitive information, but I'm basically going to put that in there, and then I'm going to show you how to go about it after putting the API key in there. Okay, so now that I have my API key within my env file, I'm just going to close out of that because I don't need that right now. What we're going to do is where it says API ID, it's the same thing as API key. We're just going to change this to process.env dot whatever I named it, and I called it API key. Remember, let's just change this to backticks. It just makes everything easier. It works. So it's going to be backticks equals, and then we're going to put this. Yep. So for the zip code right now, we're just going to hard code a zip code. Let's use the nation's capital. I believe it was 2003 or something like that. Google, what is Washington, D.C. White House zip code? 20230. Cool. So we're going to come here and say zip code would be 20230, I believe it was. And then we're going to save that. So let's see what it's saying here. There's something wrong. Required.env.config. What did we do wrong? So this has to be the string. And we should be good. Yep, see, everything's working perfectly. Start. Start. And we're all set. So since we have process.env, remember anytime you're trying to take something out of .env, you have to start it with process.env dot whatever variable you named it. It's going to be dot API key. Let's say res.send whatever this weather is, data. and then we're going to console log weather.data. Cool. So if we come up here, where is our document? We never opened it. So local host, was it 6,000? Temporary down. What was it? 6,000? Okay, let's just close out of this one, and we're just going to name it 5,000. So clear. Okay, come back here. We're going to say localhost 5,000. We're just going to do this. Cool. So let's see. Something wrong with what we inputted. City not found. Zip code. Oh, sorry. Zip code should not be within that. It's just freestanding. So let's try that again. Let's close out of this and clear that. Start. Let's just refresh this, see what we get. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so what we're not doing is await. That makes sense. All right, so we have to await the promise because it's the promise is pending, so we have to await it, and then it should be. Yep, there we go. And we're all set. So as you can see, everything here is doing what it's supposed to do. And here you go. So zip code is 20230, US. Now, so what we're going to do now is create a form in the back end, in the front end. So we're going to leave this as is and come over here. And let's just, within this, we're going to call this app.js. Sorry. And here we're going to say components. We're going to open this and say index, not index. We're going to call this, should we call this? Just call it form. Let's make it capitalized. .js. RAFCE. And for those who don't understand what I just did, so I made a folder called components within this, within the SRC, and then within components, I made the form data. So I make sure, in order to use this, you have to make sure it's capitalized. So I said form, the first letter has to be capitalized, so it's form.jsx. And with JSX, you have to make sure in Tailwind, whenever you put this in, you have JSX here within the content, just so it works, so that Tailwind works with this JSX file. And here, when I said RAFCE, FCE, and hit enter, I just made this arrow function pertaining to form. And for those that didn't watch the last video, all you have to do is go into extensions and download I believe it was, and just download ES7 plus React snippets. Once you download that, you should be able to do exactly what I just did. Let's get back to it. Okay, so now let's just say hello world. Let's come back here. And as you can see, even when I save that, nothing happens. But if I come to app.js and input that form in there, yeah, it's right there. Okay, so actually we're just going to leave it there, so that's fine. When we come to form, we're going to create a form now, and we're going to say, if I save that, that goes away. We're going to say input type equals text. Just close this out. As you can see, when you look there, there's nothing there, but there should be an input box, as you can see. So we're just going to add some quick CSS to that. Class name, say border black. There we go. Just want it rounded. medium. Yep. And we want to put this div right smack in the middle. So I'm going to say class name flex. I'm going to say justify center and items center. And width is full, height full. Let's make height 100 view height. Yep. And then it's right there in the center. And then we want to say for the button, we want to make another one called button, and I'm just going to make it rounded, but we're going to say background color would be green. Let's take this out. Save this first. Border, sorry, background is green. I'm trying to do it with the IntelliSense so you guys can get a grasp of what I'm doing. It's just, there we go. It's just for some reason bugging. And then we're gonna call this search. There we go. So we're not gonna do anything more fancy than that. We're just gonna keep it at that. So what we want to do now is send this form, link this to our backend. So whenever you send something through here, it should go to our backend. So what we want to do is use state. So we're going to import use state from React. And here, we're going to say constant use state is equal to, constant this is equal to use state. And we're going to be using a string. So constant, we're going to call this. I will explain what is going on. I just want to type this out to make it easier. I'm just going to call it zip code. Makes it easier. And set zip code in camel case. Cool. So what we're doing here is we're setting up a use state that's going to hold on to our string, which is whatever we type in here. It's going to hold on to it. And this is what sets it. So whenever you type something in here, it sets it. And whenever you hit search, it's basically searching for the zip code when you send it over to the backend. This is what you're sending over to the backend, but it's attached to this. So whenever you type in a zip code here, it logs it with the set zip code. And then when you clear it out, when this form clears, it clears it out and it holds something else. So if we're searching for the zip code of DC now, we put this in, this is going to hold on to that zip code so that it can get passed to the backend via zip code because it's set in the zip code in the form. And then let's say we submit this form. Now we want to search for Yellowstone Park zip code. We put that in, it's going to set that one, and then it's going to be able to be passed via this variable called zip code. So I just called it, you can call it whatever you want. This makes a lot more sense functionally to call it this because that's what we're going to be inputting in here, but whatever you want to choose, you can go ahead and do that. And then we're also going to be importing Axios. Actually, let me just say Axios from Axios. There we go. So right now, what we want to do is say, for this input, what we're going to say is on change, meaning whenever this changes, we're going to say is equal to it's going to be equal to E set zip code e.target.value. There we go. And what we just did is, anytime there's an event change, we're setting this zip code. So anytime there's an event change here, meaning, let's say you hit search after you hit zip code 0001, there's going to be a change in the form. So on change, with an event, so whatever you pass through here, whenever there's an event, when something's clicked and there's an event that occurs, which in this case is a submission, you're resetting the zip code to whatever else you put in there. So if I search 0001 and I hit search, it's going to reset, and it's going to say the set zip code is going to get empty, and then it's going to, you can search in 0002, and then it's going to pass that on again, and then once you submit it, it's going to get empty again. So it's only holding something. It's only holding it's holding a value until there's an update in the form. That's the best way I can explain that at the moment. So we're doing that, but here, for all that to make sense, we have to write the logic for it. So we're gonna say constant handle submit is equal to e, which is equal to e.prevent. That should not be in an array. Event default. All right, so that's that. And then within this handle submit function, just to explain what I just did here. So we're creating a constant called handle submit, constant function, whatever you want to call it. So we're creating this function called handle submit. So what we failed to do was create a form. So we have to put all this within a form. So take this, and then just put this right here. Yep, so we're all going to put this within the form. So this handle submit is saying within this form here, we're going to say on submit, meaning when we hit search, enter, whatever you want to hit. So when we type something in, we send that data. We want to pass in handle submit is what's telling that the submit button what to do. So we're going to write the logic that's going to say, okay, when I submit this form to go wherever we want it to go, which is the backend at this point, whenever I submit that, this logic that we're going to write here is doing what we want it to do. So what we're going to say is, now we're going to write the Axios method for it. So here, because we're using Axios, we're just going to say this is an async function. Cool. Now we're going to say constant, let's call this weather data, because that's what we're going to be getting back. Axios.get, or Axios.post, sorry, because we're going to be sending this data to the backend. And the backend right now is going to be, actually, let's do get first, just to explain what's going on. Axios.get, that, and then since we're using get, let's go back here and grab all this. Actually, no, sorry. Let's make this a post. We already know what's going on with the get, so we don't need another get. So let's just take this, and we're gonna see. So this is gonna be an easy one. We don't need to complicate things more. So we're gonna make this a post, and we're gonna be posting to this route, which is localhost 5000. What we need to do is say await dot get. So we're here, app.post, we're posting this. What we're doing is saying constant weather await axios.get. So we're getting this information, but now what we're doing is we're passing in something called the zip code, which is what we named this variable. Where is this? Sorry, which is what we named this variable right here. we're passing in the zip code, which is what this is going to be. So remember, when every time we type something in here, we're setting the zip code, and when we're passing that zip code to the backend. So when we do that, we're going to be putting in the zip code here. But before that, let's do something called const body. Remember, we installed something called body parser. Body parser, and we're going to require body parser. Cool. So we save that, and now we're going to use body parser by saying app.use body parser. So I actually just went and grabbed this from one of my old projects, so I didn't want to type all that out. So it's going to be app.use body parser. Let's make this capital. Okay, body parser.url encoded extended false. App.use body parser.json. So what we're going to be doing is passing a JSON file. So we're going to be using a body parser of JSON. App.use cores. For app.use cores, we're going to say const. Actually, let's put this right next to .env. So app.use, not app.use, const cores is equal to require cores. And cores, I believe, is cross origin. Look, make sure before I say something else. Cores cross origin resource sharing. So this is what's gonna allow this localhost 5000 to be able to speak to or share information with this localhost 3000 on my front end server. So it's gonna allow the front end and the back end to communicate with by applying this cores to this folder, to this file. So the body parser is allowing whatever we type in the front end to be parsed to the back end. So let's see. So we have this so far, body parser. This is what's going on. Let's see, clear npm start. Okay, so we're all set. Okay, so we don't really need this. Actually, we just delete that. It's not really needed. Constant weather await.get process.env. So we're still going to be keeping this process.env. I want to see if there's a reason why it's doing this. Cool. Awesome. So it's doing that. So now what we can say is actually console.log require.body. So just to see what's going on, if we go in here now, let's close this out and say app, it's going to be a post, and we're posting to localhost 5000, which is this. But we're going to fix that later. So that, and we're going to be passing in zip code into the body. So remember, we said zip code, this zip code here was going to be this, right? So when we pass it in, look what happens. First, let's connect this. So there's two ways to go about this. We can either come here to package.json for the client side. Look for package.json, not package./log, not package -log, package.json. And then right before private, we're just going to say proxy. And I'm going to say http local host 5000. And we're doing that in order to allow, it's basically telling the front end that this is where we're connecting to. This is the proxy, 5000, localhost 5000. Just make sure you don't put an S, just http localhost 5000, and that should do it. So if I do this, I save that. Constant weather awaits. We have to remember to put await because it's an Axios. get, it's actually a post method, and we're just going to be passing in the zip code. Yeah, so we're going to be passing this zip code that's basically here. And what we want to say is, after we hit search here, we want it to be empty. So we want to, oh, I don't think I explained what this does, the e.prevent. So this actually ties hand in hand to it. So let's just do this first. Set zip code, and let's make this an empty function. So what it says is, when we make this function, this e.prevent default is making this form go against its default function, its default pattern, which is whenever you search something and you hit search, the default method is this page wants to refresh and basically go back to this. Now it doesn't mean whatever's within this like deletes. It just means the whole page information gets lost. It gets it just loses the page is what it's trying to say. So we're trying to prevent that prevent that event from happening. We're trying to prevent this page from just losing its information and defaulting to just an empty empty page with no, without it holding any information. So we're saying event.prevent default, and we're gonna event.default function. And then for here, when we say set zip code, what we're saying is whenever we hit handle submit, meaning this form is submitted, we want the zip code, which is whatever we set in here, to go back to a blank to a blank string. So we don't want anything in here. The string needs to be empty. So in order to do that, to make sure that's enforced, we can say is value is the value is set zip code. Let's see. Set zip code is not defined. Oh, that's because it's not in camel case. There we go. So it's set zip code, and you can see it's right back there. So the value would be set zip code. So whatever is within here would be set zip code. And because we're saying when we submit it, the set zip code is empty, this becomes empty afterwards. Okay. So if you have any questions so far, you can just put this in the comment section. I'm trying to make sure this isn't as long as my old videos, so I'm kind of just running through a lot of things. So if you want me to detail a lot of more things, I can respond in the comments, or I can just make a slower paced video. I just don't want it to be as long as my other one. Okay, so now that we're here, so remember we console logged in index.js request.body, meaning, let's just do this. Let's actually do this. So we're just gonna comment out everything here. So request.body should give us whatever was typed in to this, so we can see if it works or not. So request.body, if we say, what was the zip code we used? Google White House, Washington, DC, zip code 20500, I guess. 20500. So whenever we put in 20500 in here, we should have it console logged here. So let's just clear all this so you can see it clearly. Stop. All right. So if I if I hit search, something went wrong. Let's see. Form, await, information, not post, zip code, handle submit, form, handle submit, value service zip code, on change. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Inspect, console, caught in a promise, Ooh. Okay, so we did something wrong here. Let's see. So something is definitely, let's just close that. Okay. Okay, so looking at the code, so I just went back and looked at the code. I don't think anything was wrong with the code. I believe the reason it did that was because um, this was still active when I hit localhost 5000, so it was running that. Yeah, so let's just try it again. So I didn't really do anything else to like change that. So with the form, everything is there, says zip code, value said zip code. It's still the same thing. I guess that was just the problem with it. Give me 1 second here. Let's just make this. Yep, now we can view the whole thing. So yeah, everything's still working here. With the index.js, as you can see, this is still that. So all we have to do now is, yep, that's still there. So we didn't really change anything. Everything's still the same way. So npm start. It's always a good option to start the back end first and then the front end. So start. And yeah, so there's nothing, that's fine. So it's really nothing, yeah, nothing really wrong with it. So let's see, now let's try it again. So remember, whatever we put in here should appear here as console log. So whatever we request from the body, which is whatever is here, should show up in our console log. So now we're gonna say, what was the zip code again that we needed? So this is correct. The local host should say 5000 cannot get because there's no get. There's nothing for it to get. It's a post method. So what did we have? It was zip code Washington DC White House. It's 2230. I believe we used 20. 2500. I believe that's what we used before. So 2500. So let's just use that to keep everything constant. So there's a continuity. If we do this, we can refresh this page. And then what I like to do is just make sure nothing's going on. Let's come here first. Sorry, I know this is taking a little longer. But let's say console.log weather data. Data. There shouldn't really be anything that comes up. So let's see. 2500. Oh. Set value. Let's take this out for now. I think this is a problem right now, but let's take that out for right now. And 2500. If we come to inspect and we go to network and we say search, it's going to tell us it's pending because it's not really doing anything. But if you look here, it says 2500 zip code. So whatever we're getting in console.log. So console shouldn't tell us anything. Yep. And network, this should fail. So doesn't really, it's not really doing anything. So it's not really gonna fail, I guess. It's just not doing anything. So it's just the payload is this zip code 2500. That's all it's doing. So it's sending over whatever we got here into this, if that makes sense. So whatever is here is getting sent here. That's pretty much it. When we come back to form, you can say, so when we took that value out, it's because it was supposed to be value zip code. not set zip code. So the zip code's already set. Now it's just value. And then here it's going to be set zip code and that. So this was correct. However, the value should be zip code because the value is whatever we put in there. So remember, set zip code sets it. So if I send this over now, it should be blank because it's holding on to nothing. So zip code doesn't show anything. Whatever this holds is what appears with zip code. So if I send this, so if I do this now, as you can see, there's nothing else there. It's done. So I come here, and as you can see, 1 second. So let's say 20500. We search this. It should be there again. And if we say 20500, search it again, there it is again. So if we say 10000 or whatever we want to call it, it should be there again. There you go. So that is the basis of what console log direct body is. So require the body. Request the body, not require. So request the body. We're requesting the body from what we're posting. So we're posting zip code into the body, and this is requesting it into the backend, and then this is what request.body does. So we're using this body parser to get that information. So that's just a side note of how we get that information and why it works here. That's why this is able to work. So what we want to do is say const zip code is equal to request.body. Okay, so yeah, it's gonna fail here because this is not doing anything. So we're gonna come back and make this that. Okay, so now we're gonna say blah blah zip code is now zip code. Let's do this. There you go. So zip code is now zip code. US app.id is this. Now, whatever information we get, let's just clear this out and we'll start. Cool. So now, whatever, let's say we search in 2500 again. We search that. As you can see, that's a success. It tells you here, console logs everything here, and you're not able to see anything here because it's not getting, it's posting, and you're able to console log everything here. So as you see, it's Washington, US, blah, 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 blah. Awesome. So, cool. So as you can see, you can get all that information right there. So now what you want to do is be able to display that information that you're getting. Okay, so we're looking to render this onto the page, right? But beforehand, let's just work with some error handling from the front end side. So on the front end side, we can come to this input here, which is this input, and we can make sure that if nothing is typed in here, this search wouldn't occur. So if all we have to do is say required in this input before the end tag, so put required, save, and now if I come over here and I just hit search, it's going to say please fill out this field. And the reason we're doing that is because if we don't have that, and let's go over here, and we pass over where is it, and we pass over an empty nothing, just let's say an empty string into the zip code, this whole server will crash because it doesn't have this parameter that it's asking for. It doesn't have this query. Let's say this query is inexistent, so it's gonna crash. And when it crashes, your front end will have nothing to proxy with, and it also will not work. So if it crashes and then you put the correct zip code, it's still not going to work because the backend's already crashed. So this is a way to make sure that nothing, this is a way to make sure that nothing, quote unquote, is sent over to, so nothing, no empty string is sent over. But that's not the only problem. So if we think about it, if we just put 1 and we send that, that will also crash the server because there's no zip code in the US of 1. So it's going to crash the server. So what we can do before we render all this to the screen is make sure that every error handling is taken care of. So what we can do first is say, if the zip code dot length, so the length of the whole zip code is less than 5, and we're picking 5 because the US zip code is 5 digits long. I don't know about anywhere else, but you can find out with a Google search what the length of your zip code is, and plug it in there. So length is greater than 5. Then we can say we can return res.status of 400.json message zip code is in, actually the message is going to be a string, zip code provided is incorrect. There we go. So if this, let's just actually walk through this. So if the zip code dot length is less than 5, or the zip code dot length is greater than 5, because we want it at 5, return res.status. So the status of the response would be 400, which means there's an error coming from the client side. .json, because we want to input a JSON object with the message of zip code provided is incorrect. So, or else we're just going to return this. So let's grab this X and put that in there. As you can see, constant, blah, blah. Okay, or else we're returning this. So, okay, so now let's give that a try. And then if else, yep, let's give that a try. So let's say we put in 00001, right? And we search that. So it's going to tell you there's an internal server error. Wait a minute, this crashed. This should not crash. Let's see, what did we do wrong? 00001, 1 2 3 4 5 6. There we go. Yeah, I believe I just used, I think I used one with exactly 5, so that should have been wrong. There you go. Okay, so I think I used, or not, I think I just missed something. Interesting. Yeah, so if you put in, let's try this over. So if you put in 000, that's 3 4 5 6, let's say 7, yeah, 1 2, that's fine. So that's well over 5. When we search that, it's going to give us in the response, because we set the response over here to give us a message of zip code provided is incorrect. There it is. So if you see console is going to say it's a 400 error. So if you open this here, it's going to respond with a status of 400, a bad request, and in the config headers message, there it is. In the message, it's going to say request failed with the status code 400. There we go. And if you look at the response data, it's going to say zip code provided is incorrect. So basically everything we set in here is what's going to come out. Just remember the status code 400 means there's a problem, but it's coming from the client side. So if there's not, now that we said that, as you can see, our server didn't crash even though we have this error. So what we want to do now is say else. Now we put in 2500 again and we search it. As you can see, you're going to get, let's do it again. So 2500, you're going to get this, the correct bin. And here, if you come back here, this is the one we just did, preview. This is correct, response. Yep. So this is everything we want. And you can see the status here is 400 for that one. And this status is 200 saying it is a success. So 200 success status. So you want 200, see, the status 200. And there you go. So that's how we set up the error handling for this. So remember, rest.status is 400.json. We're appending this JSON object saying message is zip code provided is incorrect. So now if we come back here, we have all that set. So there shouldn't be a reason why our server crashes anymore. Okay, guys. So I forgot to put this in earlier in the video. So all this CSS stuff is done later on in the video. So I'm just coming back to explain one component I failed to talk about. For the zip code, since we said if the zip code length is less than 5 or the zip code is greater than 5, then the zip code provided is incorrect. However, what if the zip code is the right amount? It's 5 in length, 5 digits in length. However, it's just not correct. It's just a wrong zip code. Well, it's going to break the server. So what we can do is we can come here, we can come in the form component on the front end part and use something called a try catch error, which is we're going to say try catch. So we're going to try, so within try, we're going to take whatever it is we have here. We're going to copy that and we're going to plug it in there. So anything that looks more right now is because this is post-production. So I already made the video and just came back. So everything you see here will be like in the video going forward. So we're going to put that there. And then for the error, so we're going to try and do this. Now, if there's an error, we're going to catch the error. And then we're going to say, if there's an error, when you run, so if you run this and there's an error, so if there's a constant weather data and all that and there's an error, all you have to do is say if error alert. So make an alert and say zip code is incorrect, and then you can put an exclamation point and then save that. So let's start this server again. npm run start, and let's do this. Let's close this out. npm run start. Okay, so now if I put 0, 0, 0, 0, that's 4 zeros, 1. This should happen. It should say localhost 3000 says zip code is incorrect. Now it's not gonna fail. So if I now say 2500 and search it, it goes right back to what it's doing. And if I say 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, it tells me that. If I say 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, it does that. So this is post production. So everything you see here is being done in the video. However, I skipped that part, or I failed to explain that part. I forgot all about it until I was gonna put this in production on YouTube. So this is so anything you have right now that's there, just type in try and catch, and you'll see you see the IntelliSense tell you try catch, and it should appear this way. If not, this is the syntax for it. It's a try, an object, and then right after that object you put catch, parentheses error, and then an object. And whatever you have so far, um, it when it comes to Axios or getting the information, you put that within try, and then for error, you just put if error alert zip code is incorrect. Okay, let's get back to the video. So what we want to do now is work on rendering everything. So we don't want everything to be on this page. We want it to take you to a different page to show you to show you everything that comes out here, anything we're going to use over here. So what we're going to do is say we're going to create another component. Let's see. We're going to create something called weather data.jsx. So this would be just for the weather data, and RAFCE, do that. And then in app.js, we're going to do something different. We're going to come here to our console in the front end, and we're going to download something called React Router DOM. We're going to click that. Oh, sorry. React Router DOM npm.js. We're going to click this, and we're going to copy that. Oh, clear. And we're going to download that. And we're going to use this to help with our routes. So I'm going to start this over. Awesome. So what we can say now is in this app.js, we want to import and make sure this is in brackets and say, what are we going to call this? We're going to say route. And yeah, just those two for right now from React Router DOM. And for that to work, for us to be able to do this, we need to come over to index.js and make this app a child of browser router. Sorry. Yep. We come here, just close it out. There we go. And when you import it, it should automatically import browser router from React router.dom. If it doesn't, just type it in manually, import browser router in brackets from React router DOM. Cool. So now we can come back, so we don't have to worry about that. We can come back to app.js, and within app.js, we're just gonna put this, I'm just gonna comment this out for right now, and we're gonna say routes and routes. So the first one with an S, the second one without an S, path is equal to this. And then we're going to say element is equal to form. Actually, form. Awesome. So as you can see what we just did here, this is back. Now, to explain what we did, we just used, we're going to set up a route where basically when we come to localhost slash, just localhost, it's going to give us the form element. So the form page is going to be what's showing. So now if we come down and do this again and say route path slash we're going to call this weather. Yeah, let's just call this slash weather. That's fine. We don't need to do that. So yeah, this is from scratch. So we're literally working on this together. So element is equal to, and we're going to say this is equal to, what did we create here? Weather data. So this is going to take us to weather data. And close that up. Close that up. Save. So now we come back to this weather form, and within this form, we're going to say, we're going to use import something called use navigate from React Router DOM that we have. And then here, we're going to say constant navigate. We're going to give use navigate a variable to work with. And we're going to say use navigate, the function use navigate. And we're going to come here and then say within this handle submit, anytime we submit this form, we want to navigate our way to, I wonder if we can do it this way. Navigate our way to weather. No, we can't. So I'm going to say /weather. What do we call it? /weather. /weather. So let's see if that works. 2500. Yep. And we go to weather data, as you can see. So anytime we click on that, so if we go back, anytime we click on navigate, every time we click on search or enter, it's good because it's in this handle submit function, and that's what we're passing on to this form on submit. That's gonna be a part of what it does. It's gonna navigate us right to there. And so in order to navigate us right to there, what we can do is we can pass this data that we're getting, weather.data.data, into weather data so we can use it there. So we're gonna say navigate slash weather, and then we're gonna say comma, and we're gonna put in this thing called state. Actually, it's gonna do this. We're gonna put in an object, and then we're gonna say state property, and I'm just gonna explain this in a second. With another object, and then we're gonna say data weather data.data. Okay, so what we just did was say anytime we go to this route /weather, which is this route, we're gonna pass in the state property, which is basically we're passing this prop that is saying data is the variable for weather data.data. So here you can see when you say console.log weather data.data, when you console log weather data.data, you get where is it? So you get this. So this is what weather data.data is. You get this. So now, in order to pass that prop or that state to the weather data component, so you want to pass it to this weather data component via the route, you're going to say data is equal to data represents, weather data.data, because that's where we're getting all this information that we're going to end up pulling to create whatever it is we want to create. So one more time. So that's navigate to the route, and then comma, we're going to create this state property, and then you're going to have another object that holds whatever it is you're trying to pass. So I call this data. You can call it whatever you want. I just called it data because it makes more sense to me. Data, and it represents weather data.data. So now we come to weather data.data, and we want to get all that information. So we say const. So let's say const state. Sorry, it's just going to be state is equal to use so as you can see, use location out here, imported up here. So import use location from React Router DOM. So as you can see, that is imported, and just make sure to put that the parentheses. And then remember, you're importing this whole state here, and now you want to dissect it and get const data, which is this data. You're gonna say is equal to state. Now if you console.log data, yep, see, you get the same exact thing. So you've just now passed data into a weather data component. So now it's a lot easier now. So what you have to do is just do this. Now you can say data dot name, and you get Washington, as you can see. So that changes to Washington because we took away the weather data. We took this out. And then we're gonna say data dot name, and there you go. So we can just not console log this anymore. We don't need to do that. So it doesn't just keep console logging. So you have that, and now we can say data dot name. Oh, sorry, within the object, data dot name is Washington. So what else do we want? We want data dot name under Washington. We can get the within weather overcast clouds. So you can get the description within weather. So let's see. It's an array. So you just come here and say data dot weather 0 dot description. There you go, overcast cloud. So we're gonna use CSS to make all this look nice and neat, but that's pretty much what we're doing. So we're towards the end of it. So now let's add some CSS since we already pretty much know what we're doing. So div class name, and we're gonna say width is full. We want the whole width to be full. So this way it's responsive, height full. Now when we come here and say h1, we want this. We want the data dot name. So put that in there. And we're gonna say class name. We're gonna say text, and we're just gonna give it like 5 vmin. There we go. Text is 5 vmin, or we can say text is 10 vmin since that is the name. And then we're gonna say font is bold. There you go. And text is center. There you go. So that is gonna be the name of wherever we're looking at. So we're gonna say name is Washington, text is Washington. We're gonna say now we can put the image for it. So it's not really a lot here that like will make it all pretty. We can just put the image. So let me see. I believe weather.api has its own method of getting its icon. Yep. So weather data, I think its own icon is within weather. There it is. So it has its own icon. However, the documentation states, there you go. Okay, so how to get the icon. So as you can see, it's going to tell you a whole bunch of icon list. So it's going to say for code 500, light rain icon. So these are all the icons that come with it. So this is all the icon list for it. So if you look over here, you see the icon states 04N. If you come back here, 04N is this cloudy, broken clouds, and the description is basically clouds. So it's just similar to, it doesn't necessarily have to match. So let's go back now and say, now in the middle, we want to say, let's make this height 100 view height. Awesome. And then let's put another div in here and say data dot weather 0 dot icon. let's see if that populates. It says weather is for n. Let's see what we did here. Weather icon. Okay, so we need a URL to go along with it. Got you. Okay, so I guess I just didn't read that properly. So for code, here's a full of code. So this is so this will be the URL we're using. So we're gonna be using this URL. Just reconfirm that. Yep. So whatever the icon is, we're just plugging it in there. Cool. So now, if you look at this, you would see that this does not work. And that's because of two reasons. So to begin with, what we have to do is we have to, like here, for example, you see how this is hard coded in, but we just wanted it to be what we set icon to be. So we're gonna have to create this constant and say constant icon is equal to, and if you come down here, this is what icon is equal to. So we're just gonna take this and close out of that, and then plug that in there. And because data's already expressed here, expressed here, we're simply just taking that data and saying data.weather the same way we're doing it here. So we're doing that. So now icon is the same thing as here. You can name it whatever you want. I just since I took it from the other project, I just left it at icon, but it's literally the same thing. So actually, I'm gonna take this 2x off because I didn't use that in the last one. So let's just not put that. Just leave it at PNG because I'm not using every single thing they said, so I don't know how it would show. I'm just gonna leave it as with image w. Let's see what wn does actually. Wn slash icon. Let's see. Let's see what the whole thing does. So 2x png. Let's both be surprised. Okay, so now it's still not going to work. So as you can see, nothing's going to show, and that's because this is an image. So image src is equal to image source is equal to we're just going to put icon URL. So we forgot to close that. Oh, I guess it does work. So yeah, you can just leave it the same way they did it. Just leave it with the same exact thing, except for 10D, you just put in your own icon. So you just do that, and remember it's going to be backticks, and there you go. You have an icon. Let's just put this back as full. Yeah, let's just keep it that way. So we're just going to say full, and yeah, keep it this way. That's fine. It's still centered, so there's no problem. We'll just leave it that way. Now under it, we can now say data dot weather 0 dot main clouds. So okay, so this is flexed. Flex column. Okay, so we're just gonna say flex column, and this is gonna appear in a column. So flex column, and there you have it. So it says clouds. Put this in there instead. So now we have a full description. So okay, so we don't have to do all that. So there's not really a lot of fancy stuff we can do here. Now we can just now put we can place the humidity, the pressure, temperature, all that stuff. Now we can put all that there. And then let's just start pulling these out, the temperature. So in the temperature, we're gonna say one, and we're gonna say temp is gonna be data.weather, and don't hesitate to just freestyle with this and make it look as however you want to make it look. This is how I'm choosing to make it look. Dot main dot temp. Cool. And here, so we have the data name. Let's also give it a comma, and then let's say data dot sys dot country Washington US. So we just want that, and let's give it a little bit of padding. It's way too top. It's way too much at the top. Let's say 5. There we go. So we have that, and here we're gonna just say class name. We're gonna give it a flex flex row. I'm gonna just give it a padding of about 5. So, and then we're gonna say, what else can we say? So let's go to another one, and then we're adding temperature. We're gonna say humidity. Humidity would be dot humidity. Cool. Yeah, we could say. So we're all just gonna justify. So we're just gonna justify around, and then main, and then so that's the humidity, and we're gonna say feels like. Yeah, we're gonna say temp humidity feels like. Yeah, we just give it space. And then, cool. So the temp is this, humidity is that. So now we have temp, humidity, feels like. So depending on what part of the world you are, there's no way you're using there's a very slim chance you're using a system of measurement where that's gonna give you this temperature on the daily. So this is not conducive to a weather app. It doesn't make sense. There's nowhere in the world that you would go and you would see like their everyday temperature is 289 degrees. So we're gonna have to change that. Now, if I mean, not that I'm an expert in the world, but I don't believe that happens. So um, so let's go to the back end actually. So it's one of the few times we're going to come back to the back end. So if we come to back end and we say, where is it? Okay, and we come here. So in open weather, and then if you come in the API here and you come back to the API document, it's going to tell you the units of measurement. It's going to say imperial units are available. If you do not use units, standard units will be applied by default. If you learn more, it should tell you what the standard units are. So temperature in Kelvin is used by default. No need to use this, but we don't want that. So we're going to use the empirical because that's what's used here. You can choose to use the metric system, which is used basically everywhere else in the world, but since it's the US, we're going to use the empirical. So the way to go about that is to add that at the in your API call. So we're going to say and towards the end here, we're just going to say and it's going to be imperial. I don't know why I kept saying empirical. Imperial Okay, so if we save that and we come back here, if we refresh this, okay, something's a little off. So I believe I was supposed to, yep, and units. So I was supposed to say units is equal to imperial. So let's just clear, let's restart the server, clear, close this out, and then cool. So now if I do it again, awesome. All right, so now we know based on this, the imperial is Fahrenheit. So we can just come here and say degrees. We can just make this degree Fahrenheit. Come back here, and we're gonna say Option Shift 8. So we have degree, and we're gonna put Fahrenheit. But that should go here. Okay, and humidity I believe is in percentage. So humidity should be in the percent. So humidity, and then we're just gonna put percent here. And it feels like this is gonna be the same thing, Shift Option 8 Fahrenheit. Cool. We're gonna say we're gonna make this height about 50 and there we go. So that works. So that was fast. So we have that, and then if you look over here, it's going to say image elements must have alt prop. So if you come here, the image should have key first of all, and the key is going to be data.id. So that fixes that, and then it should have alt, which just it just helps with figuring things out for those who use accessibility. There's a word for it, but it's for those who use the accessibility function on the phone or a web, things like that. So we could just call this data.weather 0.main. This is basically the whole thing. Now, how do we get back to the other page to basically go back to the search button? So what we can do is we can create a button at the bottom. So way at the bottom here, we can create a button, div, and we're gonna say button. We're gonna call that button back. So let's just bring this over here. Okay, so it's over here. So all I did was created a container for everything in there, and then I put the div by itself. So we're gonna say class name width is full, height is full, and it's gonna be way down there. We're gonna say class name background. We're gonna give it a background of yellow. So and we're gonna make it rounded small. Oh, sorry, rounded medium. We're gonna give it a padding of 3. Okay, so we come over here. Where's this? We just call this 40 just to bring things higher. So actually, let's go back and put this in there. It should have an onClick function. that we don't have yet. So we don't have that onClick function yet. So we're going to make the onClick function here. So we're going to use location, and we're also going to use navigate. So the use navigate, come over here and say constant use navigate, constant navigate, sorry, is equal to use navigate. And we're going to say constant back is equal to is equal to navigate is equal to navigate minus 1. So we're going back 1. So if we just put this, and then for onClick, if we go back and put back, so that gives it the function, that gives it, yeah. So if we said 200200500, there you go. So we have the div currently still within this div, so it's still within this original div. It's still within the first div. So now we put the button div within that, and all we have to do now is say we come here to the div before it, and we're going to give this a height of about 40 view height, and that's going to drop this to the bottom. We can actually say about 35, so that way it's not all the way at the bottom. And then we're going to say text center, and there you go. And that's, so if we have it here, so it breaks there, so it's way too much. So 20 view height, and then inspect. So yeah, so that's not too bad. So 20 view height. All right, let's see what 25 does. Yep, that's fine. So it's all the way over there, and now you can play with the font all you want. So let's say font is text. You can say in, as you can see. And you can make it bold, font bold. Just do the same thing for all three, and there we go. And for broken clouds, which is the description, we can do font bold, and we can give it a text of 4 view. That's a little too much, so let's go 3.5, see how that works. Still a bit too much. So probably wondering why this is green, so I just I wanted to see how everything looks without the in terms of div, if there's any space or anything, so I use that as my marker. I just wanted to see how, if anything was hindering it, and there you go. So for this, you can do this also, and make this class name. You can make this text of min also. So now there you go. So you can make this padding of 2, so it's not too big, and there. So once you hit that, you go back and you can put, let's say, yellow stone park, zip code 82190. So if you come over here, 82190, Yellowstone National Park, few clouds, and there you go. Feels like this. So it's pretty chilly over there, very chilly. So you go back. Yep, so that's pretty much it. So at the top here, just so you can just say, okay, so I just skipped ahead and went ahead and did this, redid the CSS for it. So if you look at it, so what we did was the whole div is going to be width full, height 100 view 100 VUH, and then the H1 is going to be alone at the top here, and then we have another div. Now in this div, we're saying the height is 55% of the view height, and then we're going to say flex, justify center, and item center. So it's going to center it at around 55%. Still fully responsive. Now we're going to say the form, put the form back, and have everything within one div, and then we're all set, and everything here is also done. So that is how we create our let's put a placeholder here. So in the input, just place a placeholder that says um, that says zip code, and dot, dot, dot. And there you go. So now you could just say whatever, so 24510, and there you go. It just takes you right to this, and you go right back, and it's all set. So that is how we do this. So it might be a little longer than some other videos out there. However, this is very comprehensive. It shows you both the front end and the back end portion of the work. You're able to create this knowing how to use location, how to transfer props, how to transfer, how to use the state properties, how to use React Router DOM for routing. So it's pretty comprehensive. So it's a little longer than others, but you learn a little bit more. It's also fully responsive. So if we come here and inspect it with console, no. Oh yeah. So before I forget, what we have to do is go around and just make sure all our console.log is taken away, because we don't want that just appearing everywhere. So just go here and then just take that off too. Let's see in the back end. Yep, we have console.log here. We don't need that. Yep, we don't need that. And then we have console. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So those are all the console.logs we used, and it's fully out of the system. So now, if we refresh this, 20500, it just takes us here, and there's nothing in the console. Everything works perfectly. So it's fully responsive. So you go to an iPad, you go to a small phone, small iPhone, everything fits right on the screen. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. This is what it looks like. Please leave a like, comment if you can. If you like the video, let me know what your thoughts are. If you saw anything that you would make a change to and would make this a little faster, you just comment your thoughts, and that's completely fine. Don't forget to subscribe also. And thanks for watching the video.